What's up, Sparks? This is the 2025 Genesis GV80 3.5T Prestige. And my question is, can it top the remaining mid-size crossover luxury SUVs in this segment? Did somebody say top? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Sparkplug TV. My name is Chris and I do car reviews for literally everybody, not just car enthusiasts. Before I begin today's video, as always, please do me the biggest favor ever and like this video, comment something down below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so that you get notified whenever I drop a new video, which is whenever I can, typically Fridays at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for your support. This is the 2025 Genesis GV80 3.5T Prestige, like I said earlier. It is Genesis's mid-size crossover luxury SUV that came out for the 2021 model year. For the 2025 model year, they did do some slight mid-gen refresh tweaking that I'll get into in a little bit. And it shares the same platform with the Genesis G80, their mid-size sedan. So the powertrains are actually right in their name. The base model gets a 2.5-liter turbocharged inline four-cylinder engine that outputs 300 horsepower. This is the twin-turbocharged 3.5-liter V6 engine that outputs 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. This gets a 0 to 60 of 5.7 seconds and can tow a very impressive 6,000 pounds, but that's also pretty standard for this segment. Now, it does have a front and rear multi-link suspension that uses the front-facing camera to preemptively adjust the suspension for whatever bumps may occur. It comes standard with an all-wheel drive drivetrain and an 8-speed automatic transmission. Let's talk a little bit about what's new for 2025 and some pricing. The GV80 comes in 6 different trim levels starting around $59,000, but this is the top-of-the-line 3.5T Prestige that costs around $80,000, but has the new for 2025 store green color that is an extra $650 that totals out to be around $81,000. Also new for 2025, as you can see from the side profile, are these really nice 22-inch wheels. It actually has some pretty good gas mileage too. It gets about 19 in the city and about 24 miles per gallon on the highway. Not bad, especially for a luxury SUV. But if you want the optional third row package, you can only get it in the first model of the 3.5T, which is the advanced package. Now, that is the only trim level that comes with it. You cannot get the 4-cylinder with the third row, but from what I can tell, doesn't look like anybody's really fitting back there. So the 2025 GV80 also has a slightly new front fascia. It's got new micro LED headlamps. It's got the same dual line LED daytime running lights. These headlamps were originally found on the Genesis G90, and they can now be found on this as well as the G80 sedan. The front grille is also brand new, and honestly, I can tell the difference, but it's really not that much different from the outgoing one. But what is really different is the bottom portion of the front bumper, which looks really cool and really elegant, and I really like the way that it looks, especially in general, because this just looks like a G80 on stilts. So not much has changed for the back fascia on the GV80. I really love these LED tail lamps. They're really stunning. I really like the fact that they kind of look like glowing cubes at night when they're turned on. They're really nice. Although if you do get behind a GV80, they will blind you. I know that for a fact. The only thing that they really changed for the 2025 model year is the bottom half of this bumper. Instead of the dual exhaust tips, now the exhausts are hidden underneath the carriage and instead has been replaced by this crosshatch pattern on the back. My favorite design part of the Genesis GV80 in general is the fact that they continually have this design that goes throughout the entirety of the exterior. The dual lighting signature is Genesis's go-to signature at this point. For the cargo space, it does not have a kick-open tailgate, but if you can turn on an option when you approach the vehicle, it will automatically open the tailgate. In terms of cargo space, I have it at the top of my head today, and with the third row, there is 11 cubic feet. With no third row, there's about 36 cubic feet, and then with the second row down, there is 84 cubic feet of storage. Are you gonna use the third row if you have it? Let me know in the comments. Regardless, let's take it for a spin. Hello, and welcome to the sumptuous, big word, interior of the 2025 Genesis GV80 3.5T Prestige. They really lived up to that name. I first have to just talk about the elephant in the car and talk about how great the interior's materials are. And there are a couple of new color combinations for the 2025 model year, including what's in this one, which is the earth brown and the smoky green color. Oh, my God, it's so nice. It's also accented by the matte finish wood trim, as well as the microfiber suede headliner. All of these materials combined, it's almost like Professor X from Powerpuff Girls made this car, concocted the Powerpuff Girls of luxury mid-size crossover SUVs interiors. Yeah, this interior is really stunning. Also new for 25 is this newer style steering wheel, whereas previously there was only a 2-spoke steering wheel. Meanwhile, this one has the 3-spoke, and I really like the way that this one looks better. Honestly, I think it looks a little bit better. There is some real tactile buttons. There's only one touch button on the steering wheel. Now, also new for 2025 is going to be this 27-inch OLED display, which is really interesting. So it used to just be the standalone display and then the standalone gauge cluster, but now it's just a sweeping panel, which is like pretty par for the course nowadays in any products. Even Hyundais have that now, right? So the difference with this one is that I really like the operating system and just the general layout and display in general. You can see the clock right up in here. With the maps, it kind of gradiates into the maps. And then you can also have the maps in the gauge cluster as well. The gauge cluster is customizable. You can have either like the world view, you can have your different trip computer view, you know, just like any other kind of modern car at this point. The only problem that I have with the infotainment system and this display in general is when you utilize Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it really hard cuts it off from the infotainment system, as well as the good thing about it is that the Apple CarPlay is integrated into the gauge cluster's map systems, but it doesn't gradiate off like it does with the native system. So I don't know, maybe that could be fixed with like a software update of some description. It's a little nitpicky, I won't lie, but you know, it's a really cool system in general. Now, the center control stack, there's not a whole lot of real buttons. There is a lot of haptic feedback, kind of like Audi or Porsche, but the really only tactile buttons that you have are going to be the temperature controls and the tune button, as well as the volume controls. That's about it. Everything else is haptic feedback. I do kind of wish there was a little bit more buttonry in here. Now, there is the center console buttons, you know, that I have absolutely confused the gear selector with this navigation controller all the time. Being in it for a little bit longer, I have gotten used to it and I do understand where it is now. From the get-go, it was a little difficult for me to discern which was which, right? The other problem that I have with this controller, albeit it is a nice option to have as opposed to reaching all the way over to the touchscreen, it does feel a little cheap down here, I'm not gonna lie. Other than that, the back seats are really cool. You know, they're power adjustable. There are vanities in the back. Just the general layout of this interior, it's so nice. It is so freaking nice. I like the powertrain. It gets up to speed incredibly smoothly. It almost gets up to speed like a Mercedes, because Mercedes to me have always been like the best at accelerating smoothly. Now, there is a bit of a hiccup when it comes to the turbo lag. Like, it lags like not entirely too poorly, but even in sport mode, it lags just a little bit. In sport mode, it does also tighten the steering wheel, but the steering sensation is so numb that kind of augments a tire to steering wheel kind of sensation, but you can tell that it's kind of augmented. But it's not a bad thing, because at the end of the day, people are not going to be driving this like I drive it, which is like a bat out of hell. Love the way the engine sounds. It's a great sounding engine. And you know what? With the all-wheel drive drivetrain, it actually does pretty well around corners. I mean, give it up for the 2025 Genesis GV80. Just me? It's so good. A lot of the cars in this segment nowadays, like especially the top of the lines, are gonna be close to $125,000. I'm talking about the Porsche Cayenne, I'm talking about the BMW X5, and I'm certainly talking about the Mercedes-Benz GLE. Now, I love the GLE, and I love the X5. I'm impartial on the Cayenne. I kind of prefer the older gen Cayennes. I do like them, but I like the older ones. This is incredible. I mean, sure, there are some things that I would want out of this that the other cars do have, like the turning headlamps, more contour style seats. Now this seat does contour you well. I just wish that this was just a tiny bit more adjustable. That's my only complaint. Other than that, the interior is stunning. I don't know how the third row would work for somebody my size. I don't think it would. And it is optional though, if you do want something this nice with a third row. You can also get the BMW X5 or the X7 that also has a third row, or the GLS Mercedes. But again, those are so expensive. This is expensive too, but this is also the top of the line and it's only $81,000. Not all that bad. Yeah, that's really all I've got. I mean, again, a tiny bit of turbo lag, but you know what? Nobody's driving it that aggressively. I can promise you that. If they are, they're buying the coupe with the E supercharger. You know, that one has over 400 horsepower. Anyways, that's all I've got for today's video. I absolutely recommend the GV80. I'll see you next time. Bye. Hey Sparks, thanks for watching today's video. Do you want more Sparkplug TV content? Then you can choose one of these 3 options. Right over here. The middle button is to subscribe to my channel, so please do that. Right over here. These 3. I can't see them in real life, but they're right here.